Please put your hands. I'm under arrest right now? What am I under arrest for? Christian, are you serious right now? Okay.
You're under arrest for D&D.
I did enough him though.
We have video cameras.
Like, I don't feel as if like she should have been arrested. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, people have discussions and emotions and stuff like that. And she has like things that she needs to work on for herself, of course. And so do I, so do you, like everybody. And I'm the type of guy, like, I'm in the business of just like extending grace and mercy and love.
Oh yeah. So this is the position that Christian called me and put me into, okay? Because he's a coward and I don't want anything to do with him at this point going forward.
Yourself mentally, and then just try to see what you can do to be your best self so that you can move forward, so you can just be the type of person and a human that God needs you to be for his kingdom and for his glory. And so harder. Christian, are you serious right now?
So man, in Washington State, he doesn't get a second.
Right. And when the dude said something to her, she was trying to turn the passengers against her, but the passengers was like, turn your phone off, bitch.
Other people, there's people who seen that, people who know that, you know, and will still honestly come and go, taxi, push and pull, and still get over the obstacles until I said, I have learned my lesson. I don't want to go over no more of these obstacles, right?
Nike may have built Sha'Carri Richardson into a global star, but this time, even they might not be able to run fast enough to protect her. Forget the weed suspension or her fiery clapbacks online. This isn't just another controversy. We're talking leaked footage in 4K, police reports, and a meltdown so public that fans are demanding to know why Nike cuts men off for less, yet still parades Sha'Carri as their poster girl. And if you think this is just a messy couple spat, wait until you see how deep this pattern actually goes. Exes speaking out, disturbing interviews, and a fan base calling out a corporate double standard that could finally cost Nike big. It all started at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. And y'all, this wasn't just a private fight caught in whispers. It was a full-blown public scene captured in crystal-clear footage. Cameras rolled as track star Sha'Carri Richardson was spotted shoving her boyfriend, fellow sprinter Christian Coleman, while they were trying to board a flight. At first glance, some brushed it off as just a messy couple spat that spiraled out of control. We've all seen celebrities lose their temper in public before, right? A heated argument, a push here or there, maybe even some words exchanged that shouldn't have been. At the time, it seemed dramatic, but nothing career-ending. But then came the body cam footage. And that's when the story flipped completely on its head. Because once police stepped in and their cameras started rolling, the narrative changed from a little argument to something way darker. The video didn't show two people losing control. It showed Sha'Carri as the sole aggressor, with Christian standing frozen, not even lifting a finger. In fact, his body language was calm, almost passive, as if he knew reacting would only escalate things further. Meanwhile, Sha'Carri lashed out, shoving, yelling, refusing to calm down even as officers tried to intervene. And if that wasn't bad enough, the footage also caught what happened when she realized she was under arrest. Instead of owning up, she immediately flipped the script. On camera, she tried to gaslight not just the officers, but Christian too, insisting she hadn't touched him, even as the video clearly showed otherwise. She accused him of being the problem, called him a coward, and demanded that he defend her, as though he were somehow responsible for her getting caught. And when that didn't work, she tried another angle, turning the arrest into a gender issue, asking why she was the one being detained while Christian, the man, wasn't being cuffed. The more she spoke, the worse it looked. Her tone wasn't the voice of someone confused or misunderstood. It was the tone of someone scrambling, desperately trying to twist the narrative before the cameras sealed her fate. And that's exactly what made this incident different from her past controversies. This wasn't a weed suspension or an edgy social media post. This was 4K footage, police body cams, undeniable evidence of her on her worst behavior. By the time officers walk her off in cuffs, it was clear this wasn't just another scandal Sha'Carri could outrun. This was the kind of viral moment that forces sponsors, fans, and the entire sports world to ask the hardest question. When the receipts are this loud, how long can Nike keep protecting her? Just days after the airport chaos, Christian Coleman finally broke his silence in an interview. And instead of holding Sha'Carri accountable, he shocked everyone by defending her. Sitting stiff in front of the camera, he downplayed the entire incident, calling it nothing more than an emotional moment. He told the world that she didn't deserve punishment, that all she needed was grace and understanding. In his words, people have discussions and emotions, and Sha'Carri was simply working on herself, just like everybody else. Now, on the surface, that might sound like the words of a supportive boyfriend trying to protect the woman he loves. But y'all, the audience didn't buy it. Fans weren't listening to his words. They were watching his body language. And what they saw didn't scream love, it screamed fear. Christian couldn't sit still. His eyes darted around the room, his hands fidgeted, and he barely made eye contact with the camera. It was as if he was reading from a script he didn't want to deliver, as if every word was rehearsed, maybe even forced. Social media lit up with theories. Some fans said he looked like a man who'd been in this position before, conditioned to excuse behavior that crossed the line. Others went further, suggesting he wasn't just defending her. He was protecting himself. Protecting himself from what, though? That's the question that had everyone whispering. Some suspected Sha'Carri had something over him, some kind of leverage that left him no choice but to stand by her, no matter how damaging it made him look. The way he spoke about extending grace and mercy and love came across less like devotion and more like survival. And let's be real, the whole situation felt flipped on its head. Usually in domestic disputes, the accused partner is the one scrambling to apologize, not the other way around. But here was Christian, the man caught on tape being shoved in public, still rushing to shield Sha'Carri for consequences. To many fans, it looked like textbook manipulation, where the victim ends up defending the aggressor out of fear, loyalty, or both. One viral post summed it up perfectly. That wasn't a man defending his girlfriend. That was a man who looked like he couldn't afford not to. What made it worse was the contrast between his trembling demeanor and Sha'Carri's unbothered attitude. While she doubled down, smiled through her apology video, and continued her Nike promotions as if nothing happened, Christian looked like the one carrying the weight of it all. And fans couldn't shake the feeling that he was being silenced. Not just by love, but by something darker. Because when your eyes say fear, but your mouth says forgiveness, people can't help but wonder, is this really grace or is it control? If the airport arrest had been an isolated moment, maybe fans would have been more forgiving. But the thing about patterns is, once people see the same story repeat itself, the excuses start to crumble. And that's exactly what's happening with Sha'Carri Richardson right now. Because when that body cam footage dropped, the internet didn't just focus on Christian Coleman. They went digging. And who did they pull receipts from? None other than her ex, Jamaican hurdler Janique Brown. Years ago, Janique had already painted a disturbing picture of what it was like to be with Sha'Carri. In an emotional interview, she described their relationship as mentally, verbally, and physically damaging. On both sides, yes, but heavily weighted with her carrying scars that didn't heal easily. She said she had been threatened, silenced, and even blamed when Sha'Carri managed to turn the internet against her. And at the time, fans didn't want to hear it. Sha'Carri was America's new sprinting darling, the outspoken athlete with neon hair and bold attitude, and Janique's story got buried under Sha'Carri's PR machine. But now, fans are pulling those old interviews back up and realizing the parallels are impossible to ignore. Back then, Janique said she had learned her lesson and didn't want to keep enduring those obstacles. She hinted at toxic cycles, at push and pull dynamics that wore her down. And what really stung is how familiar those words sound today, after watching Christian's shaky defense of Sha'Carri. It's as if the same playbook is unfolding all over again, only with a different partner in the spotlight. And here's where it gets messy. Sha'Carri herself once blasted Janique on Instagram, writing long posts accusing her ex of being the real problem, painting herself as the one who had been wronged, and rallying her massive following to her side. The internet dragged Janique mercilessly, some even canceling her, while Sha'Carri came out looking like the victim who survived a toxic relationship. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what she tried to do at the airport. Turn the tables, flip the blame, and make herself look like the one suffering, even when the evidence said otherwise. Now fans are connecting the dots. One viral comment put it bluntly: if she lied about Janique and got away with it, what makes you think she wouldn't do the same with Christian? And suddenly, the past doesn't feel like the past anymore. It feels like proof. Proof that Sha'Carri has a history of rewriting the narrative to protect herself, even if it means destroying the reputation of the people closest to her. This is why the airport footage hit so hard. It wasn't just a random explosion of bad behavior. It was déjà vu. The yelling, the denial, the victim act, the boyfriend's shaky defense. Fans have seen this before. Only difference? This time, there are cameras, body cams, and receipts that can't be erased with an Instagram story. And that's why people are saying the Sha'Carri pattern has finally caught up to her. After the airport chaos and Christian's shaky defense, fans waited to see if Sha'Carri Richardson would finally take responsibility. An apology was inevitable, right? But when she finally broke her silence, what the world got was less an apology and more performance. Sha'Carri appeared in a carefully staged video, hair and makeup flawless, posture confident, flashing a smile that never once faded as she addressed the incident. And right away, that smile became the problem. Because instead of remorse, instead of humility, it looked like she was reciting lines her team had scribbled down for her, delivered with the same energy someone would use to tell a funny story. She opened by downplaying the incident, calling it a misunderstanding, and wrapped it up by saying, "I love him, and to him, I can't apologize enough." It wasn't about accountability. It was about saving face. The internet noticed immediately. Fans flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit with criticism, dragging the video as one of the most insincere apologies they'd ever seen. One viral tweet captured the collective reaction perfectly. "Dang, imagine what she does in private if this is how she acts on camera." Another fan called it straight-up narcissistic, writing, "Apology was definitely trying to save face. No regret, no remorse. Let it have been the other way around. His career would have been buried." That last point hit a nerve because it tapped into the growing debate about double standards. Instead of putting out the fire, the apology video poured gasoline on it. Her smile, her tone, her refusal to truly admit wrongdoing. It all reinforced the narrative that's been haunting her since Janique Brown's revelations. Fans began repeating the word pattern. They pointed to how she flipped the blame at the airport, how she spun the narrative with her ex, and now how she tried to charm her way out of accountability with a grin. To them, this wasn't a one-off slip. It was her signature move. And what made it sting even more was the contrast. Christian, visibly nervous and shaken in his interview, looked like a man under pressure. Meanwhile, Sha'Carri looked untouched, as if none of this could touch her career, her image, or her sponsorships. To many, it felt manipulative, like she was daring the public to believe her over the evidence their own eyes had already seen. So instead of softening the backlash, her apology hardened it. Fans weren't just mad at what she did. They were angry at how easily she thought she could smooth it over. And now, that word pattern has become the cornerstone of the entire conversation. Because if she can smile through a scandal this serious, what does that say about the scandals we never saw? If Sha'Carri's apology video rubbed fans the wrong way, Nike's response, or rather, their refusal to respond, turned frustration into outrage. Because while most companies in crisis mode would quietly distance themselves from controversy, Nike did the exact opposite. Just days after the arrest, while headlines were still blazing and bodycam clips were trending everywhere, Sha'Carri Richardson's face was still front and center on Nike's homepage. Not hidden, not scaled back, plastered in bold letters, selling her latest shoe campaign as if nothing had happened. To fans, it wasn't just tone deaf. It was a statement, a very loud, very clear message that no matter what receipts surfaced, Nike wasn't letting go of their golden girl. And that's when the comparison started. Because while Sha'Carri was being promoted like the star of the brand, even in the middle of scandal, other athletes weren't getting nearly the same push. The most glaring example? Caitlin Clark, one of the biggest names in women's sports right now, breaking records, pulling record-breaking viewership, and yet, since signing with Nike, Caitlin hasn't received a single signature shoe or major campaign. She's barely even been marketed despite having a fan base that could move product instantly. And fans noticed. The contrast was brutal. On one hand, you have Caitlyn, clean image, huge momentum, widely respected, and Nike barely acknowledges her. On the other hand, you have Sha'Carri, caught on tape shoving her boyfriend, smiling through a hollow apology, and Nike is doubling down, making sure she's still the face of their brand. To the public, it screamed hypocrisy. Social media lit up with accusations of selective outrage. Fans pointed out that Nike has claimed a zero-tolerance policy on domestic violence before, cutting ties with male athletes over far less. Yet here they were, ignoring crystal-clear evidence when it came to Sha'Carri. One viral post read, "Corporate sponsors like Nike, who claim a zero-tolerance policy on domestic violence, are silent on Sha'Carri Richardson. If this isn't hypocrisy, what is?" Another comment cut even deeper. How much violence is allowed before it's finally considered wrong? And the more people talked, the clearer the picture became. Fans began arguing that Nike wasn't blind to Sha'Carri's controversies. They were benefiting from them. Her brand has always been tied to controversy. The weed suspension, her fiery clapbacks, her defiance on and off the track. Every scandal boosted her visibility, and Nike cashed in on it. Instead of seeing her behavior as a liability, they saw it as marketing gold. Drama sells, and Sha'Carri Richardson had become their headline generator. But this time, that strategy backfired. Because instead of looking bold, Nike looked complicit. Instead of looking loyal, they looked opportunistic. Fans weren't just angry at Sha'Carri anymore. They were angry at the system that kept protecting her. And Nike, the biggest sports brand in the world, was now at the center of that anger. At this point, the outrage wasn't just about Sha'Carri Richardson. It was about what her scandal revealed. The conversation had officially shifted into the double standard debate. And some of the loudest voices came from within the culture itself. Comedian and radio personality Corey Holcomb was one of the first to call it out. On his platform, he didn't mince words. If this was a man, his sponsorships would have been gone before he even left the airport. Nike would have dropped him instantly. And the crowd agreed, because the receipts are undeniable. Look back at past athletes. NFL player Ray Rice, a video of him in an elevator leaked, and his entire career evaporated overnight. Adidas dropped Kobe Bryant at the first whiff of scandal, even before his case went to trial. And even players like Trevor Bauer in baseball, suspended, erased, practically blacklisted over accusations that never even made it to conviction. In every one of those cases, brands cut ties immediately, not waiting for public opinion to settle. But when it comes to Sha'Carri Richardson, the evidence is on camera. The push, the body cam footage, the arrest, the fake smiling apology, and still, Nike is standing firm. Not just standing firm, but doubling down on their support. That's where the outrage deepens. Because for fans, this isn't just favoritism, it's protection. It's corporate shield work at the expense of accountability. And people are noticing the hypocrisy loud and clear. The viral comments keep hammering the same point. Why is abuse excused when it's her? Let this have been Christian putting his hands on her, and his career would be over. Period. So Nike's message is what? That violence is okay as long as it sells. This is why the anger feels different. It's not just disappointment in an athlete. It's betrayal from a corporation that claims to represent fairness, equality, and integrity. Nike has built its empire selling inspiration. Just do it. Empowerment, zero tolerance for abuse. Yet here they are, silent and smiling, standing by a star who's showing fans the exact opposite. That tension is what makes this debate so explosive. Fans aren't just calling out Sha'Carri's behavior. They're calling out Nike for protecting her. They're connecting the dots between money, power, and selective outrage. And the more people dig, the harder it is to defend. Because if Nike can so quickly bury men's careers over allegations, why is a woman with hard evidence against her still their poster child? The double standard is on full display. And for the first time in her career, Sha'Carri's controversy isn't just her own. It's threatening to drag her biggest sponsor down with her. By now, it's clear This isn't just about one fight at an airport. What we're seeing with Sha'Carri Richardson is the culmination of years of scandals, controversies, and second chances that she always managed to outrun. Every time the spotlight turned harsh, her talent on the track and her ability to spark conversation kept her afloat. Remember the suspension for marijuana that should have derailed her career? Instead, it made her a household name, with celebrities and corporations rushing to her defense. Remember the teammate complaints, the whispers about her being disrespectful, difficult, even toxic? They got brushed aside, drowned out by the hype around her bold personality and fiery comebacks. Again and again, she walked away not just untouched, but stronger. Her brand has thrived off drama. Every controversy became fuel for her image. The rebel, the survivor, the underdog. And Nike? They weren't just bystanders in this story. They were active participants. Every scandal was a marketing opportunity. Every headline a chance to sell sneakers. In a way, Nike built the Sha'Carri machine. They didn't just sponsor her, they enabled her. But now, the story has taken a darker turn. Because this isn't just about a sassy clapback or breaking a rule on the track. This is about violence, about a real person caught in the middle. Christian Coleman, standing by her in interviews, defending her, calling for grace and mercy. Some fans see love, others see fear. And the question that keeps surfacing is chilling. Is he supporting her because he wants to, or because he feels like he has no choice? When you zoom out, the picture gets complicated. Sha'Carri has always been framed as the victim turned victor, the woman fighting against the world. But what if that framing has been a shield, protecting her from accountability while hurting the people closest to her? And what if Nike isn't just enabling her, but trapping Christian too, by keeping the brand and the narrative tightly under control? For the first time, the scandal isn't just about Sha'Carri's reputation. It's about the structures around her, the sponsors, the systems, the fans who keep buying in. And it leaves everyone wondering, how long can this pattern keep repeating before it finally collapses? Right now, Sha'Carri is silent. Christian is silent. Nike is silent. The only people speaking are the fans, and their voices are louder than ever. They're demanding answers, calling out hypocrisy, and forcing the conversation to go where Nike clearly doesn't want it to. So the question now isn't whether Sha'Carri Richardson will face consequences. It's bigger than that. The real question is, will Nike finally admit that scandal might sell, but integrity doesn't? And until that answer comes, this story isn't going anywhere.